Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another exciting, I hope it is anyway, discussion, another Minecraft discussion today. And what I'm feeling today, it actually stemmed from, I just had a chat with young adults via my new Insta page called The Stress Outlet. And though it's geared that way, obviously anybody can join us who'd like to. And anyway, so I was talking about, this is yesterday or the day before, I don't know, but I was talking about the whole concepts of belonging versus fitting in. And often we think of this whole need to belong, as teenagers mostly, right? When we say belonging, fitting in, most people go straight to teenager, which is true because that's the life stage for that. But it's also belonging, the concept of belonging, the dynamic of belonging is, largely, it's inherent, obviously, where it's in our genes, it's in our bone marrow. We need to belong. And it's very, very different than fitting in. So belonging has to do with this genuine acceptance, where we don't have to tweak and change. And belonging, actually, Brene Brown would say this, belonging demands that we be ourselves. So this is when we authentically gel. So we've talked about before, the authentic self versus the ego, which is the evil twin of the authentic self. So belonging involves a whole lot of authenticity and not the ego. So when we genuinely belong, we are free to be ourselves with all of our colorfulness and our uniqueness as well as our imperfections, right? So, and this is not just teenagers, young adults, but also us seasoned adults, because we all get roped in time again. Now, are probably teenagers more predisposed? Of course, because that's the life stage. Young adults, college age, absolutely, because, and I usually explain this to them, and I do a little disclaimer that it's not meant to be condescending. I would never, ever speak to any of my rock stars in a condescending manner, or anyone else. But really, they're still, cognitively speaking, still in adolescence, because the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until the age of 25 for both sexes. That's just the truth. So obviously, you're a a lot farther along by 21 or 22 than you are at 13, but you're still kind of in that a little bit, and concerned about the silent audience, which, the what people think, and do they like me, and, should I wear this, should I say that, and all that sort of thing. Okay, so we have belonging, which is the authentic self, actually really belonging in a genuine sense, exactly as you are. And then the idea of fitting in, we can often get sucked into that even after we're out of the teenage young adult stage, out of our 20s and 30s occasionally, because sometimes it's just plain tempting, and then we get that immediate feel-good fix, and then it goes south, because there's a half-life for that, right? Because, okay, so belonging, authentic, fitting in, inauthentic, and of the ego-driven. Because when we're trying to fit in, when we are seduced by, because it is seducing, because there's that immediate fix, right, where we, technically feel like we're part of things, and we're not really. So the fitting in thing is when we kind of assess and kind of adjust. So we assess the situation. Obviously, we're not usually too conscious of this. You might be, but probably not. We're in a conversation, we're in the workplace, we're in school, even with the family sometimes, and out with a friends group. So we assess the situation. So what do I need to do, say, think, feel, or wear, right? What do I need to wear? What do I need to, the whole image thing. And then again, what do I need to sound like? How am I showing up here? How do I need to show up in order to fit in with this group? So again, clothes, verbiage, actions, stories, the whole thing. And this is really, really bad, because unlike belonging, where it's authentic and we're just being who we are, when we are being who we are, it doesn't take any effort. If it takes effort for you to be yourself, you're not being yourself. Fitting in, however, takes loads of effort, because we are kind of like, maneuvering and pivoting all over the place to assess and figure out what I have to do to be accepted and have that external approval, to be liked and feel like I'm gelling with everybody, right? So the bad news with this is, even though it has a short feel good, it has a half-life, because after that, we're not going to feel so good. And also, if you're doing it long term with the same quote unquote friends group. And obviously, they're not your real friends if you have to keep up this whole charade, but that's a whole nother episode. It has a half life because when we are tweaking ourselves, even if it's just so subtle, maybe you say, oh, that doesn't really matter. It's just a conversation that wasn't a big deal. Well, it is a big deal. Even if it's the most subtle, ridiculous, unimportant conversation, it matters huge because what it's doing to the, the emotionality and spiritually and everything else is not good, because when we're tweaking and adjusting and changing in order to be liked and approved of by another person or a group of people, we are abandoning ourselves. And there is nothing, let me just say it again, there is nothing worse you can do to you than to abandon yourself, even if it's the slightest bit. And just like anything else, we talk about it in Minecraft, brain loves patterns, loves, same, and then it gets it, and then it keeps going. Well, that's great if it's a new fitness habit. It's not great if you're getting into a pattern of tweaking and changing and adjusting yourself to obtain the approval of other people way out here. We've talked about this on a bunch of levels. Also, when our needs are based outside of us, this means we can only be truly happy when the box are checked outside of us too. So which means our happiness meter went from inside, where it should be, to outside of us, where it should not be. As far as if you want to be authentically happy, in alignment, and live in your highest vibe self, then that needs to be in here. When we get out of alignment, that's when we kind of shift to this, outcome-based, approval-needing stuff that's out here. And all of that is the fitting in stuff. So in short, belonging is the authentic self being exactly who they are and gelling with people and loving life and feeling joy and all that. And fitting in, which can have the illusion of belonging, which it is not, because it's the polar opposite, because it's ego driven, and anything that involves the ego is fleeting. And so that is the main difference. And remember that when we are trying to fit in, we actually, temporarily accomplish that. We get a little dope fix and we feel like, ooh, they're my new friends or whatever. Or I, pulled that one off or whatever. It could be a social thing. It could be like a high-end work event for any of you who are in the seasoned, category. And we get sucked in, even in our 50s occasionally. Not as much, hopefully, because we're kind of more savvy with it, but it still happens. A lot of pressure with a high profile client or something, of course. And then we're like, oh, what was I doing, right? So it's just important to really be aware of it. Am I belonging or am I fitting in? Because one is extremely unhealthy, actually toxic in situations, and one is exactly where you want to be, belonging, being your authentic self, being your highest vibe self, and just loving life. Okay, so that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from my backyard with my lovely salsa garden, which I'm incredibly proud of. There's some peppers here. You see the peppers? Maybe you can't see the peppers. I'm just so proud of it. I wouldn't call myself a gardener, but it's a start. Okay, have a wonderful day.